I've lost it. Hello all, welcome to this final Google Hangout session. And today we have two special guests, namely Abhishek Apai. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, but he can do that when I give the floor to him. And he's an assistant professor at the Department of Medical Electronics in India, and he participated in this MOOC, or is still participating, and he's also implementing problem-based learning in his own classroom. So he will talk a little bit about his experiences with this implementation and with participating in this MOOC. And then our other guest is Jeroen van Merrienboer, who is professor at the Maastricht University. And you've probably seen him in some of the video lectures in the MOOC. So welcome to you both. But before giving the floor to you, I first want to ask you to fill in the questionnaire. So this is a practical announcement. So there's a survey in NovoEd to evaluate this MOOC, and it provides us with very valuable information about how you experience the MOOC and what we could do to make it better. So please fill in this questionnaire. Then I looked at the assignments, so part A of the final assignments. There are about 42 groups who submitted an assignment. I think that's really good that you all stick to the end. So I'm sure that we will get also 52 final assignments. And I selected randomly, I looked at about 8 of them. And there are kind of two questions that are recurrent. The first one is about defining competency-based learning, flipped classrooms, project-based learning, and to what extent are they different from PBL. I do think, and it's also in the assignment, there is reference to these instructional methods, and I think it's an interesting thing to investigate, but I also often think it's more like a word game. I think it's even more important to consider for whom you are designing your learning environment, what the goals are, what tasks you want your learners to be able to do. And based on that, you can choose your instructional methods, and how you call it is, in my view, only secondary in importance. But it also relates to a question we had previously in this MOOC, and that's perhaps one that Jeroen can later address in this session, about the relationship between 4CID model and PBL. But we'll come back to that later on. And then another question that was recurrent in the assignments that I looked at was the role of technology and evolving technology, and how it will change, or even whether it will change the way PBL is implemented. Can you use an online environment to implement PBL, for instance, or can you use virtual reality environments? So those are two kind of general questions that came up, and then, but of course, and related to the latter one, it was also interesting to see there was one in the assignments. Some of you make a real group product, others put, certainly for part A, sometimes there are individual questions, and there was one individual question that struck me, and that's about, and it's not specifically to PBL, it's more like, how can we make learning more important than the grades students get at school? And I think it's an interesting one, and probably because I'm a little bit biased because we have this discussion in my kids' school. But I just want to point out that if you want to look into this issue, although it's broader than problem-based learning, I think the work of Hattie on feedback and also of Butler and Winnie may be helpful in that respect. Although, like Butler and Winnie is rather old, it's from, I think, 1994, it's still really valuable for this discussion. And then another interesting one was a person who stated PBL is not suitable for MOOCs. I think that's a very interesting one, and I think Abhishek will discuss a little bit, or based on his experience, we will see whether indeed it is not possible or whether it is possible. It's a question that we struggle with ourselves, so that's also why it struck me. And then a final reflection perhaps on the assignments. I was really impressed by the creativity of a number of groups. So there's one group who made a newspaper article with an interview and then posting some additional questions for the future of PBL. Or there's a group who illustrated the questions and the concepts they have through paintings. And the reason why I was so impressed by this is that often we see that people engage in a more creative way of presenting their information, but lose a little bit the content or the assignment they have to make. But in this case, you didn't do so. So it's really nice to see, and I would, again, encourage all the other participants to have a look at those assignments. And of course, we are very curious to see how you will creatively construct the final assignment. We really look forward to this. This is a little bit what I wanted to say as a reflection on last week's assignment. I think I took enough time already, so I'm going to give the floor to Abhishek, who will talk a little bit about his experience with the MOOC and implementing PBL in his classroom. So Abhishek, the floor is yours.
Hi all, I'm Abhishek Appaji here. I work as Assistant Professor in Department of Medical Electronics, BMS College of Engineering, which is in Bangalore, India. And also I'm doing my research with the very own host university, Maastricht University, in Faculty of Health and Medical Life Sciences. I have few points to share here. The problem-based learning was something which I wanted to practice from long time, but somehow I didn't know the concepts exactly how to implement problem-based learning. So I had read many articles and everything, and in fact, because I am affiliated with Maastricht University from more than a year, so Maastricht is known for its problem-based learning from more than 40 years, if I'm not wrong. So this made me to talk to my supervisors as well as my local supervisor here, who is a technical director of Maastricht University Center in Bangalore, India. So he told PBL has been practiced very widely, and most of all the branches it's practiced, all the disciplines. So I asked him to connect me to someone who can help me out, but somehow I became busy with my research and regular academic activities. So I couldn't really dedicate much time in learning and implementing. However, I used to do small innovative teaching pedagogy practices and all, but proper PBL I couldn't do. I didn't know if it will work, and I didn't want it to fail in trying and testing something. So at that time I saw this when I was just browsing to the university website, that there is something known as PBL course offered by again Maastricht University. So this again triggered me, and immediately I registered for it. And yeah, once I registered, I started attending class. One good thing which I found, one question which was again told by Professor Claire about that PBL, can it be done virtually? That is, using MOOC. I would say definitely yes. This would be the success which once this course is done, probably we can get the results of how successful this course was implemented. And the virtual class which we created, the virtual team. In my team, PBL and team, which we had variety of people from different parts of world, starting from the same Europe, many countries from Europe, and India. We had 2 of them from different parts of India, extreme corners, and then from Saudi Arabia, from China, and all over the world we are spread, even from US, Canada, and all. So connecting with those many different vibrant people, and of course our team was very good, where we had very good leadership who took lead in motivating people to submit the assignments. Starting couple of weeks we were very excited, and we started filling the assignments very soon, even before the deadlines. But as and when the course was going, we got busy with our own stuffs, and we were just submitting the assignment just one day before and making sure that all of them put their thoughts. So Yeah, one more good thing is in the middle 1 week I was unable to do because of some prior commitment. But even during I was just seeing what was happening in the team as an observer or something. I didn't contribute much, but everything was my work was additionally taken up by other team members. We have around 16 or 17 active members in our group. So they took over my work and they were able to complete the work on time and they were able to submit. The difficulties which probably most of us faced, even I discussed in my group also, is that starting when we entered, we were like put in the pool where we don't know swimming. So we were just trying to find out group members, shift in the group, and which track to select, which track to not to select, and why to select that track. Even though description was given, we were just little very confusing state. But it was just, I guess, 1 or 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, we got to know how to use the tool as well as what was that we should look on and what we should ignore. And yeah, that was something about the class. And yeah, the next thing is yeah,
Sorry, Abhishek,
the next thing I would like.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure, Ms. Daniel.
You were saying that you had 16 people in your team, and how many of them are still active now?
That's a good question. More than around nearly 10 members are active.
Wow.
While we joined around 16, I mean, there was a lot of changes. We had a participant who joined very late also after like 4 or 5 weeks. And there was floating crowd kind of thing. But we permanently, the people who started the group, I mean, initial 5, 6 of them are very active. And rest 4, 5 of them are active and they're asking doubts and they're able to contribute. But around 8 to 10 of them are very active. Others are little inactive.
Okay, and you're saying that the clear leadership has been an important factor in your group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I didn't take the leadership, but there was a couple of them who took the leadership and they used to bang our doors and say, this is the time you should submit the assignment. This is what we should discuss. And we are using Google Plus as our tool to upload our documents. We have Google folder, a shared document. So everything there, we used to get comments day in, day out saying, this is what we have to do, this is what we have not to do. Yeah. And one more thing is experience in the problem statements. I mean, there was one assignment where we were supposed to design a course for some module. That was an interesting assignment which I liked out of all the assignments. Because because being one of the teaching faculty in India, the major stress or major responsibility what we feel is designing our course. Now, designing a normal course is easy, but designing a PBL course was the toughest thing I felt. And I had spent most time while in that assignment rather than any other assignment. I mean, that was really a good exercise given to us, and we were able to achieve it in very good extent. And how to design a course was really well addressed in this course. Yeah. So coming to my experience in implementing this problem-based learning, while I learned this, I started implementing roughly around 1.5 months back to my master's students who are currently in biomedical signal processing and instrumentation. I started this. First thing in my classes, I did couple of chapters like a regular teaching mode. Then I shifted to problem-based learning. I just gave them some 4-5 problem statements to 4-5 different. There are 16 students, and 4 of them in each group. So there are 4 groups, and I gave them problem statements, different problem statements. And I told them what is problem-based learning and what I've learned and what are the links that to refer, all those things. And one interesting thing I found was they were very receptive to this new kind of teaching. And they were able to answer, come out with the questions as well as answers once I taught. And the classes which I take is on Wednesday and Friday of every week. So Wednesday, as soon as I enter class, I used to give them the problem and then discuss about it. And then Friday, I used to ask them to come up with the questions. In Friday's class itself, they used to sit and discuss and then do. Then I used to monitor them, and one good thing which again PBL taught me, this course taught me, MOOC course, is that what is the role of a teacher, what is the role of a tutor to be. So I was able to, at least not to complete extent, but I at least got an idea, and I was able to implement something which was satisfactory. As of now, 2 problems in each group I've given, and that's been kind of today also I was able to answer, and we had brainstorming session. So next Wednesday I'm giving them one more problem, and then probably even I'll be able to do 4 kind of questions, and then let me see their results and compare it with the previous batch results to see how, whether problem-based learning was really effective. I feel it's very effective personally. And then yeah, this was about my experience in the course. The course which I took was it's called medical instrumentation course, where it's all devices. So I gave them a problem that, for example, I'll give you one problem which I gave. I told them that you're just walking in a street and you see one accident. As a biomedical engineer, what is that first thing you'll see? You'll see somebody's in the accident, and then an ambulance will come and pick up the patient or the person who is in the trauma. So take him, and during the ambulance time, you see that there is some. I was dealing with pulse oximeter topic. So I told them that first thing, pulse oximeter, you just put it in the probe of his. You put it to his finger, and it doesn't work. So what is that you will do? So I didn't tell them what is pulse oximeter, but they started coming with a question with basic principle of pulse oximeter till the extent of ethical issues, which I totally didn't address. It was one of the major graduate attributes which we see in our engineering education. So that was my experience in implementation of this one example I gave. And one more good thing is I want to share is that once I finished this this semester and as well as this MOOC course, I want to share this with all my other colleagues, like interested colleagues. I want to call them for meeting and say, hey, look, I have done this problem-based learning course, and this is what I've experienced. And probably you can also practice. Probably I'll take little hands-on session for other faculties, probably start off with a group of 10 other colleagues, and then further expand my group and ask them to practice problem-based learning and discuss the outcomes probably monthly once or something. This is the next thing I'm planning. And the last thing I would tell is this MOOC course. I mean, I shouldn't be telling this, but MOOC course this is the only MOOC course which I've attended very punctually. Until the end of the MOOC course, probably I'll be able to attend. I've registered for many MOOC courses, but I mean, being an academician, your online courses, many of them I register because the materials which I get is really very good, which I can use for my regular teaching. But this is the MOOC course which I've been attending punctually, contributing to the assignment, as well as I was enjoying this course. I mean, rest all was also very good, but somehow I couldn't contribute much to that. So this is what I wanted to share with you all. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I'm ready to take any questions or any comments on this experience.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to see what you did with the MOOC and that you try to implement it. I think it's an example for the others, and I'm very curious how it will go when you want to convince your fellow teachers to implement this as well. Given the time, I'm going to give the floor to Jeroen. Perhaps you can also shortly reflect on what Abhishek told us and talk a little bit more about your experiences. Jeroen?
Okay, thank you. So I'm Jeroen van Mernienboer, Professor of Learning and Instruction at Maastricht University. I've been also involved in the conceptualization of this particular MOOC, which I found quite challenging because our expertise is in small group learning and how to combine small group learning with a MOOC with thousands of participants. So that was really something that made me think. I'm mostly interested in what is happening in this MOOC and what is happening at Maastricht University around problem-based learning because I do research on education and educational models. This is research on problem-based learning, but it is also research on project-based learning, research on case-based learning and the case method. Quite different methods, but I think they also share a lot of things with each other. Some of you might be familiar or watched the video on 4-component instructional design. And 4-component instructional design is actually a design approach that can be used to design problem-based learning or project-based learning or case-based learning. So many problem and project-based approaches can be designed with 4-component instructional design. In this sense, the question that was asked, how does 4CID differ from problem-based learning, is that 4CID is a design approach and problem-based learning is an educational model. So it are two different things. But it are two different things that can complement each other. When you look at the 4 components, learning tasks, supportive information, part task practice and procedural information, you can easily find these 4 components in problem-based learning. What we call learning tasks in 4-component instructional design is what are called problems in problem-based learning. What we call supportive information in 4-component instructional design is what we call the study landscape in problem-based learning. It's where students go to find and identify resources that can help them to solve the problem. What we call part task practice in 4CID is typically called the skills laboratory, where students learn particular skills in PBL, in problem-based learning. And finally, the 4th component, procedural information, is typically the information that is given by a tutor in problem-based learning or sometimes by an instructor in the skills laboratory. So we can easily translate the 4 components to 4 corresponding components in PBL. But what's important is that we can do precisely the same exercise for project-based education. And then the learning tasks are called projects. The supportive information is typically given in lectures, lectures that precede the work on the projects. The part task practice is often done in practicals, and the procedural information is the guidance that is provided by a teacher who is guiding the students who are working on the projects. Well, so there are many examples I could give of how you can find the 4 components in many different educational models. I think what the added value of 4-component instructional design is that it helps us to analyze a curriculum, not only on the level of the learning tasks, but also on the level of a whole course or on the level of the whole curriculum. 4CID poses a number of requirements to a course or a curriculum that are not always that obvious in descriptions of problem-based learning. The first requirement deals with variation of variability. What 4CID is stressing is that the whole set of problems in a course, or even the whole set of problems in a curriculum, must be representative for the problems that students encounter in their profession or can encounter in the real world after graduation. So it's mapping the complexity of the real world on your curriculum and really critically thinking about the variation that is needed over the problems that you present to your students in order to prepare them for their profession or prepare them for real life. Another issue that is not that obvious in PBL as an educational model, but that is more obvious in 4CID, concerns the sequencing of problems. 4CID stresses that if we want to develop competencies amongst our students, we should first present them relatively simple tasks, and the complexity of the tasks must increase throughout the educational program, throughout the years of a curriculum. So starting with simple tasks and then increasing complexity. A principle that is also called the spiral approach or the spiral curriculum, because in each new cycle of this spiral, students work on fundamentally more difficult or more complex tasks. PBL as such does not provide any tools or any approaches for how to organize the curriculum in such a way. And 4CID provides some tools that can help you to sequence the problems that you pose to your students from relatively simple to increasingly more complex problems. Well, maybe one final example, guidance and scaffolding. Scaffolding meaning that guidance decreases over time when students get more experience. Well, guidance in PBL is mainly related to the tutor. The tutor who is guiding and giving feedback to students working in the educational group. We do a lot of tutor training and we instruct tutors on how to interact with their group, how to provide feedback that is taking the needs of the students into account. But what is critical is answering the question whether a tutor for first-year students should provide the same amount of guidance, should do the same things as a tutor for third-year students, or whether a tutor in a bachelor program must do the same things as a tutor in a master program. Well, when you look at 4CID, the answer is quite clear. No, it's obvious that first-year students need more guidance, need more interaction with their tutor than students who are in the third or fourth year of their studies. So I think that 4CID is in line with problem-based learning. It's another type of approach. It's not an educational model, but it's a design approach, giving some tools that can help you to design a problem-based curriculum or a project-based curriculum or a case-based curriculum. And what it stresses is that variation over problems is important, that sequencing our problems from simple problems to more and more complex problems is important, and that guidance, as provided by a tutor, for example, is not always at the same level, but should typically decrease as students learn, as students acquire more expertise. And this is very helpful, I think, when we are designing problem-based educational programs or problem-based curricula.
Thank you, Jeroen. I think you also immediately answered a question that I saw in one of the assignments, where it was a group that were thinking that we should design differently based on 3 categories: beginning PBL students, intermediate PBL students, and expert PBL students. And I think you nicely showed that in your talk.
Yes, I really think this is a very, very important point. And I've seen many PBL curricula in which they do not really take this into account, and it may also explain some of the complaints that we hear from students. I mean, in Maastricht we have a lot of experience with problem-based learning, but in general we find that first-year students are really enthusiastic about the system, they really like it, but third-year students or master students often start to experience PBL as a kind of straitjacket. It becomes a kind of routine in which they are in. which makes sense because they have much more experience. So they probably need a somewhat other approach to PBL than first-year students. And it's important that we think about this and make PBL more flexible. Organize our PBL sessions in such a way that they take the prior knowledge and the experience of students into account more seriously.
I think this also provides a tip to Abhishek when you convince your other teachers at your university. You can take this message with you, I think.
Yeah, sure. I have a couple of points, small points to add. Can I?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. First thing, there was one difficulty, I guess, most of the participants would face in this MOOC course or any other in general about PBL is, we saw the assignments. We also reviewed our colleagues, other fellow participants' assignments. The resources are plenty. It's like a well where you just dig, you'll be getting a lot of resources. So there was many resources finalizing. Even if you Google, you'll get plenty of them. Even in this MOOC course also, there was a lot of them. If you just see the assignments, what people have done. So one difficulty what we were facing is the resources to, finalize or shortlist which of the resources to refer, which is relevant to our field. Though it's very general, but that was one difficulty which we felt. And I am happy, one more thing is I'm happy to share that I've been invited as a speaker in one of the conference, very huge conference, which is International Conference on Transformation in Engineering Education, which we get experts from all over the world who share their experience. So there's one track in the conference which is innovative practices. So I've implemented virtual lab for a crowd of, I don't know if you would believe, a crowd of 650 students of first year. So it was virtual lab which they implemented, and evaluation, everything was virtual. This was one credit course known as Biology for Engineers. So this is first of its kind which we have introduced in our university. And so I'm talking about it. Probably I'll add a couple of words about this PBL and what is that others do, so that the participants in the international conference can get benefited about this. Yeah. And also I'll be visiting Maastricht University in near future. Then I would love to talk to you people and learn a few more things physically. Yeah, that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're more than welcome, and let us know when you're in Maastricht. Given the time, I think we should end this session. I'll just check whether Jeroen or Danielle still want to say something.
No, I just want to say goodbye to everyone and thank you very much for participating. We've valued your contributions and your discussions and the fact that you've shared your insights. It was really nice. Thank you.
I share the same impression as Daniela. It was a great experience for us, and as said, we are looking forward to your final assignment, so keep up the good work, and also think about the questionnaire we asked you to fill in. Thank you all, and well, perhaps we meet one another in another MOOC, and I hope it was very useful for you. Bye.